Hey guys, Easter007 here. I'm going to bring you guys a review of the Shengshou 4x4 version 3. I know a lot of people have already made reviews on this cube, but I figured since I got one, I'll just make a review. Maybe you'll learn something new about it. Maybe, I don't know. I just kind of feel like making a review on it. And it can't really hurt anything, can it? This cube is a knockoff of V-Cube 4x4, patent design. There's no actual V-Cube 4x4 yet, as you probably know, but they did patent the design for it, and this is a knockoff of that design. I'll put a link in the description on where you can buy this cube. I think I bought it from iCube Mart, but there are many different places you can buy it, and I'll link to a bunch of the places. When I first ordered the cube, I got it with textured stickers from iCube Mart, but since then I've replaced it with the stickers with the Half Bright plus Bright Blue set from cubesmith.com. I'll link to that if you want these stickers. They're pretty nice. It's a bright blue, which is awesome, the bright yellow, the bright green, bright orange, standard white, and the dark red. I'm not sure exactly how much it weighs, but if you compare it to a 3x3, it's definitely heavier. It's a little bit heavier than a Dainguhong. It's a Dainguhong. It feels about the same weight as a Shengshou 5x5. It's more compact, but somehow it feels pretty much the exact same weight. I can't really tell a difference just by holding them. Definitely a little bit lighter than a Shengshou 6x6, but that would make sense because 6x6 has so many internal pieces. It would be ridiculous if they're like similar weights. Pretty sure it's the same weight as pretty much the same weight as the Shengshou 4x4 version 1 or Ghost Hand version 2. This is actually Ghost Hand version 2, but it's the same exact thing. Ghost Hand version 2 is the same thing as Shengshou 4x4 version 1. That's what I mean. It doesn't feel much different than a Guhong in weight. Not a Guhong, yeah. Diane 4x4 is what I meant. But it's definitely a lot smaller, you know. I think it's a little bit lighter, but it might not be. For a size comparison to a standard 3x3, let me see. It's a little bit taller. Oh, I want to say a little bit. It's probably a third of a 4x4 piece taller. A third of one of its pieces taller. It's hard to yeah. Much there. To Shengshou 5x5, it's pretty much the same size. It's a little bit smaller. Yeah, barely. To QJ Megamix version 2, it's a little bit smaller. It's hard to compare these. It's about that. Exact same size of the Shengshou version 1 or Ghost Hand version 2, whichever you want to call it. Smaller than the Diane plus on a Fate 4x4. About there. Maybe a third of a cube, between a third and a half of a QB. And smaller than the YJ 4x4. About there. Still about a third of a QB. So when you buy this cube, do not change the tension, or at least for me, changing the tension was bad. I loosened it by a quarter of a turn, that's it, of the screw on each side, because it was it felt kind of slow, but that was because the lube was all worn off. So I re-lubricated it with the silicone spray. CRC heavy duty silicone spray. And then loosened every side by a quarter turn. And then it was a lot faster, but it was like not stable after that. And pieces would just randomly fly out. Well, not pieces. Like, it would pop if you like forced even like small cuts. It would just randomly pop sometimes because it was way too loose. I haven't tried it tightened, but I'm sure it probably wouldn't be as good as if you just leave it at the tensions which you buy it at, because it never pops. It's a quick turning cube, like nice, fast, to the point. Like, my die-in, it feels so slow compared to the die-in feels very slow compared to the Shengshou. Actually, the inner layer is about the same, but like the outer layer feels really slow. It can turn quick if you just do the double flick. And the inner layer is about the same speed. It's not bad. When you're turning the cube, you can feel a very, very slight amount of friction, but you don't even notice it during the solves. Inner layer, there's even less friction. There's pretty much no friction. It just kind of goes. Actually, there's definitely friction, but you know, it's just not relevant to to your solving. And I would say there's less friction on the inner layer, but I think the friction actually helps it turn better. So the outer layer turns a little bit better than the inner layer. Holy crap. But it's both layers turn very well. As far as corner cutting goes, like the outer layer can cut 3/4 of a QB at the factory tension. It's about there. It's like 3/4 of a QB. Cut that easy. If you try to go a little bit over that, it can still cut it. But sometimes like 9/10 of a QB, pretty much. It can if you force it, it can cut that, but it can't cut it well. If you go for a whole QB, it cannot cut it at all. If you do the inner layer slice like that, about 2/3 of a QB, you can cut that. It's like 2/3. You can cut that pretty well. If you go a little bit more, 3/4, you can cut it, but you have to force it. If you do like 4/5, you still cut it. Holy crap, it wasn't doing that earlier. Anyways, like 9/10, cannot cut that. It'll probably like pop. But yeah, maybe like 4/5 of a QB you can cut. Yeah, not well though. It like locks up and stuff. So I'll stick with the 2/3 or 3/4. If you do the inner layer, I can't cut well. I can do a 1/2 a QB probably, like there. I can do that easy. If you do like 2/3, it'll like lock up. A little over 1/2, you can get that to cut. Yeah, if you go like 2/3, sometimes it cuts, sometimes it locks. That time it locks. Shengshou is pretty notorious for the lockups on their cubes, but it's not too bad on the Shengshou 4x4 version 3. Like, every once in a while it'll lock up, but they're usually minimal lockups. And they're not overly frustrating while you're solving the cube. Like, my main problem with the Ghost Hand version 2 or Shengshou 4 version 1 is that you're solving and you're getting into the average and you're having a great average or a great solve, and then your cube will just lock up on you for no reason, and it gets pretty annoying. Like the only time this locks up is when you're like scrambling and going really extremely fast, and like you're not being precise at all. You're just kind of flailing. It may lock up. But otherwise, it really doesn't lock up. Like, it'll lock up like that if you're like, if you're more than what I said for the corner cutting. If you're more than that amount off, which if you are, then you should probably practice your precision a little bit. But yeah, like, that was very condescending. I'm just kidding. So yeah, lockups aren't really a problem on this cube. There are some, but you can deal with them. If you leave this at the factory tension, it will like never pop. I haven't had it pop at this tension. I don't think ever. If you loosen it, even a quarter turn of the screw, it will start to pop. So if you don't loosen it at all, then it never pops, which is amazing. That's what makes it better than the die-in and out of 8. This part's kind of just going to be like an evolution of the design, the internal design of like the Shengshou 4x4 and what it came from. This is a YJ 4x4 internal design core, whatever, which is like a direct copy of V-Cube's patented design. Patented? I think so. Yeah. So this is kind of what it looks like on the inside. There's a core or whatever. The corners look like this, big and these pieces are humongous. The stalks are extremely fat. An edge piece looks like this. It's kind of short and stubby. It's no really add-ons. It's just a basic, boring piece, you know. Center pieces look like this. Nothing special. And little nubs look like this. I don't know exactly what these are called. I just call them little nubs. There's a little bump there. I doubt I can get my camera to focus because it's pretty low quality. Well, it's not exactly low quality, but oh, that's kind of cool. It kind of focused there. But you might be able to see the little nub where my finger's pointing. And this is the larger piece that little nubs go on the ends of. This is the arrow piece. So yeah, that's what the YJ's core looks like. And then Shengshou took that design and made their original 4x4 design. But here's the internal core. That's what it looks like. Corner piece looks like this. Oh, can't grab it. It's much thinner, much more done to it. But they really upgraded the design, so it would be smoother, turn faster. Wouldn't be clicky on the internal layer like the YJ is. Yeah, it looks much better. Here's what an edge piece looks like for the version 1. Definitely updated, not so stubby. Here's what a centerpiece looks like. Like, these add-ons will reduce pops because it keeps them held into place. Oh, instead of the large arrow piece, they have these, which does pretty much the same job. Just does it much more efficiently, much better. And your little nubbies are longer, so it reduces the popping, keeps it in place better. It's part of the design, it like locks it in there, so it doesn't have to click. I'm not exactly sure, I'm just kind of spitballing here. I'm pretty sure that's what it does. Then you got the Shengshou 4x4 version 3. This is what the core looks like. It's harder to see on black cubes, so I'm going to have to get it to focus, kind of. This is the most advanced and the best, obviously. That's why it's the newest version. But this must have taken a lot of time to design, because it's pretty high quality. Here's what a corner looks like. It's very thin. Nice kind of rounded corners. so it doesn't lock up as much. Edge pieces, they have this extra lip added on here so it doesn't pop out there, which is really nice. This popping is probably the most annoying part of cubing. Here's the center. They added this extra nub to reduce popping as well.
I'll probably see you later.
There's people outside. Here's one of the what originally was the arrow pieces. I'm trying to find my there we go. I'm not sure how much, they're pretty much the same, truthfully. It's a little bit less wide in the stalk part, I guess, a little bit shorter, but the design hasn't changed much there. And here's one of the little nubbies. I like calling them little nubbies, I don't know why, it's kind of weird, but yeah. Pretty similar in design. Actually, these might be like, they're pretty much exactly the same, other than this one's modified to fit with the new arrow piece. Yep. So thanks for watching that. There'll be a link to a video of me solving the Shengshou 4x4 version 3 in the description. I think I have a 1 minute 2 second average of 5, something like that. And if I forgot anything to say in this video, you have any questions about the cube, just leave a comment. I'll definitely respond within a day, probably within like 5 minutes, because I can do it on my phone. So yeah, if you got anything, just ask, and I will see you later.